All right, in this video, we will cover the process of dimensioning the sketch plane cube. So I've already created a part file for the sketch plane cube, and now I'm going to go through the process of how to place the sketch plane cube in a layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to New in my ribbon, and I'm going to make sure that the English tab is picked, and I'm going to open up a ANSI IDW inches. Now, once this layout sheet comes onto my screen, I have some options to change some things so that I can make it printable to an 8.5 by 11 printer. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to right click on sheet 1, and I'm going to scroll down to edit sheet, and I'm going to change this D to an A size. And so you notice the height and the width change to a standard sheet of 8.5 by 11 printer paper. I'm going to click OK. Now I want to adjust the title block. I want to make it fittable to the page. So I'm going to take out this ANSI large. To do that, I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on delete. Then I'm going to click the tab next to drawing resources. And then there's a tab next to title blocks. And I'm going to click on the ANSI A. Now you see that the title block has been reduced in size and fits better onto the page. Now I'm prepared to bring the sketch block cube onto the page. So to do that, in my ribbon, I'm going to go to base. And typically, if I had just created the sketch block, the file would exist in this strip. And since I've already previously created, it's not here, so I have to go find it. So I click this tab here which says open an existing file. And I got a folder here called OTC 2008 fall, and this is where I saved my sketch plane cube. I'll double click it, click open. And now the sketch plane cube is on my sheet. So what I want to do is I want to scale it down because there's going to be quite a few dimensions that I have to place on here and the other views that belong onto the sheet as well. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to come over to my scale. I'm going to pull this tab and I'm going to scale it down to a half. All right. And I want to take this shading that I have on it off. So I go up here to my styles up here. I got hidden. I got hidden lines removed, and then I got the shaded. So I'm going to click that. That should take the shading off. And then what I want to do is turn that on. What I did turn on was hidden lines. And now I can project the other views. If you notice, there's a box that's floating with my cursor. What the computer is waiting for me to do is establish the other views that are necessary here. So to do that, I'm going to click here, which is going to be my top view. This is going to be my right side view, and then I'll put my isometric in this corner. In my label over here, I want to go ahead and label my front view here, and I'm going to label that in all caps. And then to make those words visible on my sheet, I'm going to click this light bulb. If I'm happy with everything, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And so I didn't take the shading off, so that's okay. There's a little box that's ghosting around my front view and all of my views. So if I double click that box that you see ghosting around my front view, double click and go back in here, and it was already off and I turned it on. So I'm going to turn off the shading by clicking on it. Now it should be off. And then I click OK. And so now what I need to do is turn the shading off on the isometric. So I'm going to double click it, turn on that light bulb. The scale is always the same, and I'm going to go ahead and label this now while I'm in here. And I'm going to click OK. So now what I want to do is reposition the views and organize them on the sheet a little bit better. So to do that, this little red box that's ghosting around here, this front view, I can left click and drag it, and all the other views that are dependent upon it move as well. So I'm going to put it in, locate it over here, and I'm going to move this side view over here just a little bit. I'll leave the isometric in this upper right corner. Next thing I want to do is I want to scale these words down. I think it's just a preference thing for me. I think it looks better format wise. So I'm going to right click on this, edit text style. And I'm going to come in here with the text. Right now I'm at a 0.18. I'm going to scale it down to 0.12. I'm going to make it bold so it stands out. And I'm going to hit save and close. Now by making that adjustment, you see that the adjustment also carried over to my isometric, and it'll carry over to these other views when I start to label those as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So this box that you see here, I'm going to double click this box on this view. And I'm going to turn on the light bulb so that my label can be seen. I'm going to label it R.side. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to do the same thing with the top view. Light bulb. Type in the word top. And I'm going to click OK. Now that I got everything labeled, I want to do some organization. So I'm going to take this top view, the words, text, and I'm going to move them up here. Now I can go about putting the dimensions on the sketch plane cube. So to do that, I'm going to go up here in my ribbon. I'm going to click on annotate. And what that does is now my ribbon changes. I have more options to do annotations, add text, create dimensions, things of that nature. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to add a center line to the front view. So to add a center line, in my choices up here, I'm going to click on center line. Now this command will stay. This command will stay engaged until I either A, hit escape, or B, press enter, or choose another option. So I got center line checked. I'm going to find the midpoint here of the front view, the midpoint here. And then I do a right click, hit create, and that helps me create that center line. Now, why do we need that? Well, this hole in the sketch plane cube goes all the way through. So in this particular view, you can see through the hole. In this view, you know that the hole is in this surface, cut in this surface, but you can't see it. And it's being represented by some hidden lines. Well, because that surface is circular, we want to denote and let our builders know that there's a hole in the middle of this, and that and to do that, to indicate that there's a hole there, we're going to use a center line to do it. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add that same center line to this view. So I find we're still in center line mode. I click here, I click here, right click, hit create. There's my other center line. So now I can go about placing dimensions on the sketch plane cube. Now, per the dimensioning guidelines in Unit 3 of the Project Lead the Way curriculum, Unit 3.4 to be exact, most of your dimensions should exist on the front view. That's not always true, but the views, one of the standards in there is that the dimensions should always exist between the views. Now that is a standard. So we're going to try to apply that rule and make sure that all our dimensions exist between the views. So what does that mean? That means that our dimensions will exist between this view and this view, between this view and this view, and then between this view and this view. So to begin dimensioning, I'll go to Dimensions. I'm going to click this point, and I'm going to click this point and pull that dimension up between the views. So this dimension tab stays engaged, so I don't have to keep clicking on it. I'll click here, and I'll click here, pull the dimensions up. And if you notice, the dimensions always graduate from the greatest dimension down to the smallest dimension until you get back to the object. I want to know where this is centered at, so I'll click this corner. I'll find the center of this hole. Well, actually, the center of this protrusion right here. That's what I'm finding. Pull that dimension up. And then in this particular view, I want to know what that diameter is of that extrusion. So to do that, I can just click the edge of it, and I'll pull that dimension out here and away from the object. Now the guidelines state that we shouldn't avoid crossing leader lines and extension lines. So this is a leader line. A leader line usually has an arrow where it terminates and bends out to the dimension. And these are extension lines. These are where the dimensions are start and end. They end at the extension lines. All right. So now another way of pulling some dimensions is what we call a baseline dimensioning. So if I go up here and I click on baseline, I can click and drag a window around this edge of the surface of the front view. Right click, hit continue, and it gives me all those dimensions that I need. Right click again, and now hit create. The dimensions exist between the views. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to come up here to my top view and get some dimensions. So this particular hole is, for instance, if I want to put a bolt and a screw through this hole, I would dimension it like I dimensioned this particular circular surface. So what I'm going to use is what we call a hole and thread. So I click on that hole and thread, click on the edge of this surface, and I'll bring that dimension up and out. And how this is read is the diameter of this hole is 1, and it's cut, this little arrow going down, to a depth of 2. But we know the whole block is 2, so that means that this hole goes all the way through. Now what I want to do is create a center mark. So I'll go up here to center mark. And if you notice, anytime you put your cursor on something in the Inventor program in the ribbon, it gives you a pull down menu about the option. Sometimes there's a video will play that will show you how the option works. In this particular case, it's explaining to me this is a center mark created for arcs and circles. The center mark style determines the appearance of center marks in a drawing. So I'm going to click that. and I click that point, and now I got center marks. Now the dimensioning guideline said that I can dimension to a center line. So we can treat this center mark like a center line. So therefore, I can get I'll go back to dimensions. I'll click this center, click this edge. And I can pull that dimension out there. Click the center again, click the same edge and pull up. I'll get this dimension here. I'll hit escape now, because now what I want to do is just, I want to reposition my text here a little bit. So now I want to go over into my side view and capture some dimensions as well. So I'll go to dimensions. I'll click this point and I'll click this point, bring that up. And once again, dimensions exist between the views. Click this point and I'll click the edge of this extrusion here, which is this extrusion is this view is this of this extrusion here. Click this point, pull that dimension up. And I think that's all I need on this particular view. So now, if I wanted to give it in here, I can put a title in here by using the A text. So I'll go to A text, click and drag a text box inside of here. Remember, you have to open up the text box wide enough so that you can type into it. So when I get in here, I can actually change the text height. I'm gonna bring it up just a little bit, and I'm gonna make it bold. I'm gonna type sketch plane cube. Now I got my text in there. Go ahead and click OK. I hit escape. I can move this around. So to move, if you notice, I'm moving this around my screen. If you hold down on the wheel of your mouse, press down on the wheel of your mouse, it creates a pan hand, and you can pan the drawing around the screen. To zoom in and out, just roll your mouse in and out. And this is how you dimension the sketch plane cube from the readiness training.